All right, everybody, it is Marie.
And Gavin.
And we are back for, is this round 4?
I think so.
I think
it is.
Round 4, the Elite 8. We started with 64, now we're down to 8. We had a really good turnout on voting. We've also gotten a few random comments, even out walking at a safe distance, that people are out there watching, which is super exciting. But I was thinking that when I watch March Madness basketball, my enthusiasm starts to dip a little when it comes down to the 8 teams that are left. And I just want to make sure that everyone is really aware that there's still a lot to be passionate about, even if several of your favorite songs have been left to waste by the side of the road. We have 4 solo artists and 4 bands. We have 3 artists who originate from the UK and 5 who call the US their home. We have at least 2 incredibly talented singers and songwriters whose piano skills are incredible as well, but underrated. We have a band named Queen and the Queen of Soul. We also have an artist who raps and beatboxes and sings and has released records in both Hebrew and English. We also have a superstar who started out in an incredibly popular band. And then we also have an incredibly popular band that sprouted a bunch of solo artists. So we've got some really heavy-hitting teams here. So we're going to get into this. And since we only have a few announcements in terms of the scores, we are going to share a couple of quotes from all of these artists, and we're going to give you out there a little time to decide who said what. So who's responsible for the quote? So I'm going to hand it over to Gavin. He's going to start with our first one in the Western Division.
Yeah, all right. So how this is going to work is we're going to split it down the line. We'll have Sarah Bareilles, Queen, a member of Toto, and Peter Gabriel, also a member of Queen. You'll probably guess who. I mean, yeah, okay. But yeah. So we'll start it. We'll put it out, and then we'll also do one for the East, and after that, we will announce the winners. So, the first quote is, "In the early days, my band just wore black on stage. Very bold. Then we introduced white for variety, and it simply grew and grew."
So, we're picking, did Sarah Bareilles say this? Did Freddie Mercury from Queen say this? Did Steve Porcaro from Toto say this? Or did Peter Gabriel say this? So they started out with all black, then added a little white, added more and more and more. Gavin, who said that quote?
Who said that? That was Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury from Queen. All right. So the next quote is, "There was no real poet in the band, but we tried. Sometimes, to be honest with you, our lyrics were written a day before the vocal had to be done." Again, was that Sarah Bareilles, Freddie Mercury from Queen, Steve Porcaro from Toto, or Peter Gabriel? And the answer is Steve Porcaro from Toto.
Yeah. And easy one if you know Toto. Rising like Olympus above the Serengeti. So this next one, since it's between Peter Gabriel and Sarah Bareilles, we'll read out both, and then you can decide which one is which. So, for the first one, "I'm trying to enlarge what I do with my voice, though not through technique, but just through the sounds. I think we all make noises, and particularly when we get involved or emotional about something, the colors and the tones of those noises change." And then quote number 2.
Yeah, that's deep. That's a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
So sounds and noises and voice. Okay, so the other quote is, "Nobody ever thinks a song is about them. Well, not when it's mean. When it's a good song, everybody thinks it's about them. And when it's mean, nobody thinks it's about them." All right. So Gavin, who was the person behind your quote?
So my quote was by Peter Gabriel.
Very interesting, given all the wild sounds he makes on his records.
Exactly.
And then Sarah Bareilles is the one writing about, nobody thinks it's about them when it's bad, but everybody wants it to be about them when it's good. Hey, I think a lot of us have been there. All right. So we're gonna wait on the announcements till the end, right?
Yes.
The final four. Okay, very good. Let's move on to the Eastern Division. So what are our choices over there, Gavin?
We have Masayahu, Aretha Franklin, the Eagles, and Coldplay. Specifically, Chris Martin and Don Henley, if that helps anyone. So we'll start with my first quote, which says, "We rely more on enthusiasm than actual skill. Whatever you do, do it enthusiastically and people will like it more." Interesting quote. It's a true quote.
It is.
Very nice.
Yeah. And the person behind it?
Yeah, so out of these, this was Chris Martin.
Chris Martin of Coldplay.
Of Coldplay,
Yeah, interesting. Next quote, "I kind of think that music in general is a sacred thing. That's what music has kind of always been for me." Let me try that again. "I kind of think that music in general is a sacred thing. And that's what music has kind of always been for me." Kind. You've got, yeah. So that is a quote from Modest Yahoo. And when I sprang this one on Gavin, he thought it might be Aretha, but yeah.
It's tough between those two.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah, I don't know about the sacredness of Don Henley's work, but I will say there's some metaphysical stuff going on in Hotel California.
Yeah.
So,
All right, tell me about it.
All right, so the next, it's between Aretha Franklin and Don Henley. So my quote is, "I like writing and don't confine myself to just the words or just the music, but I don't particularly write songs with myself in mind." And then
and then the next one is, "I try to write conversationally. I try to write like people speak and put an emphasis on the right syllable." So your quote? Sure, my quote is Don Henley's quote.
Don Henley.
And so
that means mine was Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, so the song, a lot of people I think forget that Aretha also wrote a lot of songs, some by herself and some with collaborators, but she was pretty picky about who she collaborated with. So so some words to live by. We'll be sharing those in the PDX Vox newsletter along with a few other quotes that that we ended up finding in doing research for this. So, all right, here we go with our big announcement.
All right, it's about that time.
Yeah.
So, we have between Brave and Somebody to Love by Queen. The winner was Somebody to Love by Queen. That will be advancing to the final four. It won the Northwest Quadrant. It will move on. Moving down to the Southwest region, it was between Africa by Toto and In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. This was a really close one. It was decided by one vote.
Seriously?
And that one vote cast for In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel will be advancing to face Somebody to Love in the final four. That will be coming up. On this side, One Day by Modest Yahoo faced Think by Aretha Franklin. Another close one, but ultimately, One Day
painful
pulled it out.
Yeah.
They got it. Beautiful song, great message. That will be in the final four, which means that the final decision was between Viva La Vida and Seven Bridges Road. And Seven Bridges Road advances to the final four, which means Viva La Vida is out. We say goodbye to Brave, Africa, Think, and Viva La Vida. It was not a good day for one-word songs at all. They went 0 for 3. Really a tough time, but now we have our final four. So again, Somebody to Love against Queen, against In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel, One Day by Modest Yahoo against Seven Bridges Road by the Eagles. Listen to every song, make your decision. That will be due.
2 days. So April 4th. Today, it's so hard to keep track of what's going on these days. April 4th is 2 days from now, which is Saturday, 5 o'clock. Votes will be due then. You can submit them through the PDX Vox website. There are links there. I'll be posting stuff on social media. We'll also then be doing our final, which is due April 6th. It's kind of weird because if to do over again, I would have kind of made the final come really fast. in basketball, you have a day for the team to rest. We don't really need to rest. We can just vote. But we're going to just take that rest, trying to make it as authentic as possible. So 2 days from now, we'll want your votes for the final showdown, West versus East, and then we'll do our final 2 days after that on April 6th. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll